You are listening to the Holly Hall Show. Every week, Holly will discuss global news, her unique views, interview amazing guests, and often with an astrological twist. Holly has over 7 years experience as a talk show host and 23 years experience as an astrologer and dream analyst. Sit back, relax, and enjoy another intriguing and informative hour.
Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about Will Smith. Why? It is March 28th, 2022, and this is Holly Hall. We're also going to be talking about anger and soul rebirths, and how do you deal with learning to dismantle how you express your anger during your soul rebirth. Why? Because this is exactly what Will Smith is going through. Last night on the Oscars, he punched out Chris Rock. Chris Rock is a comedian. Obviously, comedians will use people for their portal to make fun of. And he happened to do this with Jada, Will Smith's wife. There is a lot of buzz going on around this right now, and a lot of people are very angry, disappointed, and sort of boycotting Will Smith. I have a completely opposite view, and I'm going to let you know why. I have a secret manual of Will Smith, and he is going through what's called a soul rebirth. He is also dealing with another aspect which has to do with his moon and how there is built up resentment. You see, Will Smith and Jada, specifically, not Jada, sorry. I'll make sure I'm going to say her name properly. Jada Pinkett. She has her own show called The Red Table or The Round Table. And it's very explicit, vulnerable, and intimate. And I've had my queries about that. I thought some of them, specifically when they had their daughter on the show and talking about very openly about the issues that Will and Jada has had with their relationship. I thought even though she was a young adult, it was a bit too much for a child to have to witness. However, hey, what's happening behind closed doors? I'm sure she knew it all, and she was open to it. It's still young for the public eye. So that was my own opinion, obviously, being a bit judgy. But talking about judgy, when you have a lot of Libra in your chart, which Will does, you are someone who holds in a lot of your display of anger and frustration in order to look good for other people. It's that people-pleasing syndrome. Many of us have it. Most of us have it to a degree, but somebody with strong Libra has it extensively. In fact, his chart is very much like mine. Very much. And so he's got his sun in Libra. I have a sun in Virgo. He has his moon in Scorpio. I have a moon in Aquarius, so they're not similar. But his Mercury and his Venus and in Mars are in Libra, and Virgo, and so are mine. Now, mind you, my Venus is in Virgo, it's flipped, and my Mars is in Libra. However, this is what's called the good girl or the good boy syndrome. When they were young, when he was young, he deliberately acted in a way to gain recognition or to be liked or to be loved from his parents. Now, with the moon in Scorpio, Saturn's hitting it right now. This is someone who is extremely secretive and controlled around his emotions. Now, when I've seen him on shows and talk shows, as well as even on the the round table, he does not look like someone who holds anything back. Now he's got an ascendant in Gemini. So an ascendant in Gemini, very opposite to what's going on underneath the surface. On the surface, he's funny, talkative, communicative, likes dialogue, likes to talk a lot. In fact, it's his ego that covers up all of that hidden fear, anxiety, OCD, the need to please other people. He covers that up, he masks it with this jovial, talkable, childlike, enthusiastic, fun, linguistic personality. And so here's a secret, the more that Will Smith feels uncomfortable, the more that his inner dialogue is criticizing himself for feeling uncomfortable, the more chatty he is, the more funny he is, and also the more restless he is. So his conversations will bounce around, not able to stabilize a conversation. Now, with that being said, he also has, and I'll tell you what he's going through right now, too. This is, I'm not surprised at the display of his behavior. So he went on stage and he clocked. He clocked him. So he made fun of Jada Smith or Pinkett, Chris Rock, and there seemed to be a bit of a giggle between Will and Jada. And then Will just got up on stage and clocked him one. And then from the audience, he continued to sort of heckle him in a way, telling him to leave my wife out of your fucking mouth. Right? He was angry. Now, the one thing with this type of personality, this soul of Will Smith, is that he holds on to a lot of anger and frustration before he bursts. And that is what's called the straw that broke the camel's back. He also has what's called Uranus and Pluto in conjunction with his sun in Libra. And so when he blows, he blows. It looks like it's only about Chris Rock in this situation. It looks like this is an angry person, and this is a demonstration of Will's basic personality that finally everybody's starting to see. No, no, this is not his basic personality. This is his basic general personality out of control because he has been building and building and building resentment. This is a volcano that erupted. And this is losing control of his words, losing control of his mind, losing control of his mouth. I'm actually I don't want anybody to get hurt. I don't want Jada to get hurt. Okay, so what happened is apparently Jada is, or not apparently, she is suffering from alopecia, which is loss of hair all over your body, depending on how severe it is. It could be just patches in your scalp, or it could be your eyelashes, your eyebrows, like every hair on your body. And aesthetically, it's very uncomfortable. And when you're in the limelight, like she is, even more so, obviously. So Chris Rock was making fun of "Can't wait to see you in the next G.I. Jane," because obviously she could be going bald. Is that funny? I would say that most of the people in the audience probably were not sure what he's talking about unless they knew of her plight. A lot of them are Hollywood, right, in the immediate audience, but I'm talking about the television show audience because I didn't know myself. Was that cool? No. Was it cool for Will Smith to act out at that moment? No. I mean, this is definitely something that you could take a person aside and say, this is not called for. Or he could have just heckled from the audience and said, not cool, bro. Don't do that. This is a very painful situation in our family. Okay. But that's not the case. And of course, hindsight's 2020. He's going through what's called a soul rebirth. And he's been going uh, through this, and I'll let you know all of the hits too, because what happens is when we go through an astrological cycle, there's the beginning, the middle, and the end. Sometimes there's the beginning, the middle, and the end, which means there's 3 to 4 cycles, 3 to 4 hits is what I call it. And there's specific dates that this happens. And this is when you want to draw an awareness to the transition that you're in and witness how you're responding to the outside world in order for you to grow quicker and faster. I mean, I wish I was in the Hollywood. I would love to talk to him. I would do it completely incognito. Nobody has to know that I'm doing this for him, because I know that I can help him gain power through the knowledge of what he's going through. So if anybody else is hearing this and you happen to know his email address, send it off to him. Let him listen to it. This would greatly assist him. Now, a Pluto rebirth, in this case, it's Pluto square Mercury for him, is about what do you do with the thoughts in your head? And how do you manage those thoughts in your head? And what action do you take according to those thoughts in your head, in your mind? Now, in his case, this is someone who takes he doesn't, because he comes from the good boy syndrome, he has lost a sense of identity. Now, add to that being an actor, a singer, an artist, a producer. He has become, and in the presence of the expectations of everybody in the world who follows him, he has become what everybody wants him to be. They want him to be a bad guy. He's a bad guy. They want him to do roles are action orientated and rough and tumble, then he's that. Right? They want him when he was younger. They want him to be funny because his first big role was Prince of Bel Air. Then he was a comedian after that. Right? So he has become what everybody else wants him to be. And even though he may argue with me because there is a very individualistic side to him, that's Uranus with the sun, he does not want to identify with what everybody expects him to be. So this is like the devil and the angel on both shoulders that he's fighting with all the time. He wants to develop his role of who he really is. Who is he? Who is Will Smith? So that's what he's discovering right now through a soul rebirth. He's discovering that he really doesn't know who he really is, who he truly is on a deep level. Now, this started for him mid-February. And actually, it says mid-February, but in astrologically, even though he would have felt it in mid-February, it actually started March 10th. And the cycle that he's in is a very, very long cycle. And it continued the first cycle. Remember how I said there's going to be a few here. So the first one for him goes until the third week into June of 2022. Now you're listening to Holly Hall Show, and I am a master astrologer. And you can get a hold of me at askhollyhall.com. And we're talking about Will Smith and his outburst and his clocking of Chris Rock in the Oscars on I believe it was the 27th of March of 2022. Now he will be dealing with the rage, and he will address it up until June. Okay, it's going to come back. Okay, I'm just talking about the first cycle up until June. Now let's see what happened yesterday. Energy for him. Now the moon, That's the 27th. So the moon had just gone into Aquarius, and also Mercury, well, this is interesting, had just moved into Aries. Aries is anger, action, frustration. I just wrote my predictions for the next 3 days on Substack, the intelligent soul, not the intelligent soul, intelligent soul. And I'd mentioned that you got to be very careful with what you say. Don't take action on all of your words. Take an inner action of what's going on. Deeper than that. It's deeper than that. What's going on? So I would, but because Will Smith is also going through a soul rebirth and the shift in Mercury, that's the planet of communication and thoughts. On top of it moving into Aries, it's exalted in Aries. Mercury does not like being in Aries. It wants to be deliberate and deliberating and thought provoking and fair and honest and intellectual and kind, And I'm not saying Aries isn't any of that, but the raw, undiluted version of Aries is the warrior, the fighter. Are you getting my drift now? The confrontationalist, the argumentative nature of Aries takes action. It doesn't think before it pulls a punch. It's defending. It's maiden. And that's what I believe he was doing. There is much more under this and what meets the eye. And I believe with the vulnerability of Will Smith and Jada, they will come out and talk about that underlying issue. But on a deep soul level, I will expose to you now the secret of what he's going through. And that is a soul rebirth. When we go through a soul rebirth, we are eliminating behaviors that have tormented us for many lifetimes. Often, more often than not, these soul rebirths, these behavioral patterns, stem from a past life that was not of the person's fault, not the soul's fault. Right? So in this situation, what I'm seeing with Will Smith is that he has in many past lives, he has been the one that is the lawyer, legal, fair, almost to the point of being traumatized by that. So the best example I could get is if it's like a doctor or somebody in a legal profession who defended their environment, humanity, and in that defending, they were ostracized, humiliated, maybe even destroyed, killed, or locked up, right? And this created, because of that experience or many experiences, he did volunteer for this. I do believe we all volunteer for it, but it did create the good boy syndrome, as well as when I feel like I'm in a restraint situation. That's where I feel like he was kind of locked up. When I'm in a restrained situation, I can't take it. Like, he literally has no control. He's in rage. And this is a knee-jerk reaction from many past lives. Now, as soon as I heard that this had happened, I know after I researched it, I saw all this rage from everyone, this judgment and contempt. And I can see their point, but that's not what I felt right away. I felt, again, I don't want to see Chris Rock physically hurt, but I felt a concern. Like, what's going on with him? What's going on with Will? There's some help that needs to be, there's a cry for help here. There is. And I believe that's going to come out. Then we got Saturn square moon, which started mid-March. Okay, and what is this? Just a few days after mid-March, the 26th. So about a week after mid-March, and this ends in December of 2022. And this is a very difficult period, specifically in his own personal and domestic life. Also on a psychological level, it's a time, yes, I know, it's Will Smith, but it's a time where he's feeling lonely and isolated from others. He may even be going through depression, feeling undeserving of love. And the woman who has stood by him, and they have gone through tumultuous marital issues very publicly as well, mostly because of the round table. So it was self-induced. However, and people like that. People want to see real. We are so blinded by not only media, consumerism, and capitalism, but Hollywood, magazines, TV shows, reality shows, advertising. We are blinded, manipulated, and we judge our every breath of our life by that. I'm not good, I'm not smart, I'm not witty, I'm not rich, I'm not pretty, I'm not skinny, I don't have enough friends, I don't have enough family, da 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 da, right? And he represents the other side of that veil, the ones that many people may judge themselves by. So he's allowed to be real, and I think we need a wake-up call. And I believe, I'm going to put a prediction out there, I believe he will be one of those wake-up calls by how he will continue to respond to this moving forward. One woman said in a YouTube journalistic video around this is that he will never be interviewed again. Yeah, whatever. Really? Everyone's, if he called up 12 different TV stations right now and said, I want my side of the story told, I have something to share that's vitally important to the general public, they're all going to snap him up. They're stupid, right? And what's happening as well with him right now is externally this influence, this time that Will Smith is going through, and as I said, March 22 to December 2022, is especially difficult with women because his emotional communication seems to be cut off. Remember how I said earlier that this is something that's been bubbling below the surface, the straw that broke the camel's back, or the volcano that just exploded? The conflict is so deep within him that he's forced not to neglect it now. There's also a part where his parents may be a source of concern as well. There's a lot going on. So basically, elements in his life are truly at conflict right now. And it's time that he makes important changes in order to suit his life priorities. And his life priorities are changing. This Mercury, Pluto, soul rebirth, it can make us think we're going crazy in our head too. It really can. And feels like there's no control. Now, because this is someone who's always controlled and wanted to be fair and kind and come across as I've got my shit together. And because he's lost a sense of identity through his childhood and his adulthood, and he's lost a sense of who he is. He doesn't know what his anger is. He doesn't even know that he's suppressed anything. There is no awareness of his suppression within his own self. And here is a woman who's stuck by his side, and he stuck by it. They stuck together. I hate to say this, like the kind of subservient woman sticking by his side. I do not want to come across like that. But they've been through a lot more than anyone's ever going to know, except for the paint on the walls. And he is obviously very passionately protective of her. There obviously is a lot more going on below the surface, and that triggered it. Now, again, I don't want to see anybody hurt, but this is a blessing in disguise. Thank you, Chris Rock, for absorbing the punch and absorbing the verbal expression. I hope his ego takes a back seat, Chris Rock, and he reaches out as a humanitarian, as a human being, as a soul, and say, dude, that was not cool, but I'm here for you. That takes a lot, though, right? I mean, I've even got people in my life where they've really hit me hard in the heart with some very cruel and mean words that were not valid. There's no validation for it. There's no excuse for it. It was their own agenda. And I don't really want to associate with them. It's a judgment on them, not on me. So I get it. Not easy. Right? Now, mind you, don't get me wrong. If these people approached me directly and said, I'm sorry, can I know more? I don't want this to become between us, blah, 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 then I would definitely have that conversation. I'd have no problem having that conversation. So, what it says basically astrologically is that he has been giving others the impressions that he is overly ambitious or that he wants too much. And it may feel that this is a time to try to prevent this from going any further. Now, I would venture to look at Chris Rock's chart because I would like to see if he has it in him to do that. And you know what? He does. He's a practical, rational, reasonable human being. Actually, I'm surprised he didn't clock him right back because he's got a moon in Aries, so that's going to get feisty. That's courageous. That's gutsy. Let's say it as it is. And I wonder, even though he's got a very deliberate personality, there's a darkness about that. And he's not too bad at ad-libbing. So I'm not sure that that joke was scripted. It just came out. And I would say without a doubt that Chris Rock will come out and say, it was uncalled for. It came out of nowhere. I literally didn't even think before I spoke. Yep. I think there's going to be a really weird connection and friendship that's going to come out of this. An awareness that everyone needs to know about. I'm also getting a clairvoyancy around this, that Will Smith and Jada, but specifically Will Smith, is caught up in some almost a political business, uh, somewhat deceptive, but not on his. That's not where he thought it was going to go. So he got the wool pulled over his eye. The situation that he's having difficulty getting out of right now, and there is some exposure that's going to come out around that. This is a cycle that he's going through until the end of 2023. Because he has that good boy syndrome, and this is very secretive, and I feel like it's threatening to his domestic personal life. It's going to be difficult for him to be able to roll out all the details of the situation that they're in. But this is definitely going to benefit us as this full disclosure is going to benefit us as a society. Again, somehow I feel like Chris Rock is involved in this. He's humanitarian. He's a caring person. I believe he will be very, not only just cordial, but sincerely concerned, sort of understanding the underlying issues around this. That's clairvoyantly what I'm seeing. And this is going to create a connection between the two of them that's going to benefit humanity. I believe it will be Chris Rock who actually privately influences or encourages. That's that moon in Aries that he has. Will Smith, whether it be publicly or privately, to figure it out and come out with it. I believe that the way Will Smith will present this disclosure will be so cryptic or unfinished that people won't buy it. And that will force him internally to come out with more and more and more. I've always said astrologically for the last year and a half that Hollywood, or the major influencers, because it's not just Hollywood anymore, are going to bravely and courageously come towards the first line and speak volumes of truth through advocacy as a collective. A lot of them are doing it individually, but we need the collective. We need that strength in numbers, and this is one of those catalysts. Again, I don't condone any kind of violence, but there's something more to this picture than meets the eye. So wait for it. The carpet is still yet to be rolled out. So I'd love your comments below. Just make some comments down there. And what do you think? I kind of put a different twist on this, a complete opposition of what's popular viewpoint right now. And I'd love your thoughts on that. Make a comment below wherever you're seeing this. All of my work, you can see my podcast, you can see on YouTube. I will share it on my social media, on Apple, Google Podcasts, Stitchers, as well as, did I say Apple? Oh, Spotify as well. Namaste. May the stars be with you. May all your dreams come true.